Chapter 3 Umbra Flare Sigma. The sprint through the dark forest continued, with only the flashlights guiding our way. The police car's signals gradually died out in the distance, and the only sounds left were our strained breathing and the eerie wind blowing through the surrounding woodland. We ran constantly for about 5 minutes when a strong feeling of emptiness suddenly grabbed hold of me. Eric and I found ourselves amidst a sea of twisted trees, distorted by whatever atmosphere had taken control of the world around us. A strange sensation shook my mind, telling me that everything that had happened after leaving Cabin 5 was nothing but a dream. I closed my eyes, imagining that I was actually asleep, and focused all of my senses in order to wake up. I opened my eyes after a few seconds and hoped to find Lorraine by my side, in front of a cozy fireplace with a glass of wine in my hand. The gaze of total disappointment when I reopened my eyes shocked Eric. "What are you doing, running away from the police like this? Now they'll think I'm in on whatever shit you're up to," he cried, desperate for me to give a solid answer. I don't know. I just felt that something was wrong," I replied thoughtlessly, although it was probably far from the answer that he expected. "Damn it, I left my phone in the cabin." "Whatever," he said and sighed. "We've got to get out of here, wherever here is. I know this forest like the back of my hand. Even though this place is far from what I'm used to, I might have an idea where we are. Judging by the formation of this copse, I'd say we're in Old Hallows Grove, an open spot on the western side of Nordstar Plateau. This is one of the many makeout spots in and around Cordale. This place gives me the creeps. Hard to imagine it being used like that," I said as a chill suddenly ran down my spine. The area was utterly devoid of sounds, and its grave influence weighed heavily on my mind. "If my dad finds out what I was doing, I'm done for. He's been trying to control me for so long I can't even remember a time when I felt free," Eric said with obvious frustration. I kind of understood how he felt, since my father had raised me exactly the same way. He always wanted to control my every action, and growing up, I had to abide by his self-made laws and stupid traditions. I'm sorry," I said, and put my hand on Eric's shoulder. "But this is no time to reminisce, bad memories or otherwise. We need to get going." "Yeah, you're right," Eric said, and pointed in a direction, whereupon he took the lead. While lighting up our path with the flashlights, we swiftly made our way forward. I wasn't normally this trusting, but felt sincerity in this young man and decided to follow him in hopes of finding a way out of this clandestine forest. "Who are you anyway, and what were you doing out here in the Backlands?" Eric asked with an inquisitive demeanor. "I'm Andrew Williams. I came here to enjoy a quiet vacation with my family." "I didn't expect it to turn out this way, though," I explained. "Yeah, you got that right," he confirmed jadedly and forced a smile. The odors coming from the blackened trees around us reeked of decay and wither, and the stench was almost unbearable during some parts of our trek. I tried hard not to show my disgust and uncertainty, but in the face of this strange world, I could feel my true self starting to show. Eric was steadfast and kept on walking despite the foul smell and obscure aura that had a strong grip on the world around us. We held our course for about 10 minutes and came out to another forest clearing. As I looked up at the deep black sky, I saw only darkness at first. Upon closer examination, however, I discerned a small red line stretching out across the heavens. It was dyed in the same amber pigment as a summer's evening horizon. Although insignificantly small, I thought of the vague red line as a glimmer of hope. I knew I had to man up and show Eric that I was confident in my skills as a soldier, but something prevented me from being my overly secure self. I had stared death in the eye more than once, but this was something entirely different. We carried on under the influence of this strange, gloomy world. The only things breaking the silence were the slight buzzing from our flashlights and our shuffling footsteps against the soft forest ground. After plodding through the woods for another 5 minutes, we came out to the edge of the plateau itself, finally leaving the eerie forest behind us. The scenery that greeted us as we came out from our forest walk was not a pleasant one either. We were high above ground level, standing at Nordstar Plateau's southern edge. The vista was that of the town of Cordale. The town itself was stained black, and not a single sign of life could be seen from where we stood. There were no streetlights, no cars, no sounds, no nothing. "Eric, what's going on here?" I asked desperately, and stared into the shocked eyes of the young man, who stood immobile at the sight of this strange town. I'm not sure," he stammered. "But maybe we should go back." "What are you talking about?" I interjected. "The police won't take kindly to us running away in the first place, not to mention the amount of whatever substance swirls around in your system." "I know, but—" he started. But before being able to finish his sentence, we were suddenly interrupted by the sound of branches snapping behind us. Scared to our wits' end, we both turned around with our flashlights and tried to pinpoint the origin of the sound. I hoped that the sound was that of a fleeing animal, but feared that something else stirred amidst the thick darkness. The sound was suddenly heard again, and this time even closer. We were still oblivious to what made the noises, but a massive sense of fear gradually took over. "There! Over there!" Eric cried suddenly, and pointed at something coming out from the forest's edge. In the beams from our flashlights, we saw countless beings shambling towards us from the darkness. "What the hell are those things?" he continued in panic. "We have to run! Go! Now!" I ordered and took up my gun. Eric slid down a portion of Nordstar Plateau's mountain wall, but dropped his flashlight in the process. He stopped at a ledge around 3 meters below me. I was afraid to fall and thusly not eager to slide down to his side, but the creatures were perpetually closing in on my position. I switched my point of view from looking down for an alternative route and tried to judge how much time I had to decide before the creatures would be upon me. Before I knew it, the creature stood before me. I instinctively fired a warning shot at one of the beings hurling itself towards me, and then slid down the mountain wall to Eric's position below. When I came down to Eric's side, we looked up and saw that the creatures heedlessly threw themselves down the slantwise wall towards us. Some of them fell into the dark nothingness below, but yet others managed to make it onto our ledge. The dark creatures looked like something drawn directly from a nightmare, and wielded large black clubs and other weaponry. Strange name tags had been etched into their bodies. Their conviction was strong, and before long the ledge was crowded by the twisted creatures. I used my gun to take down a few of the rampaging fiends, but they just kept coming, screaming and yelling as they closed in on their prey. "No! Let go of me!" Eric yelled suddenly. I threw a glance over my shoulder and saw that one of the creatures had taken hold of his arms, thus restricting his movements. I punched one of the creatures coming my way with the butt of the flashlight and kicked another one, which instantly fell off the cliff. I then fired a bullet at the creature trying to harm Eric, and it pierced the fiend's arm. I swiftly hurled it over the edge towards its doom, but what I didn't expect though was that it would take hold of the hood on Eric's sweater. "Andrew, help!" Eric cried desperately, but I was too preoccupied trying to save myself from the swarming hordes of strange creatures stumbling towards me. I shot and fought my way through endless numbers falling down from above, but was soon overcome by their tenacious wills. They flipped me over, and as I fell down beside Eric, I could see the dread in his wandering eyes. I was unable to loosen my arm and reach out for Eric. He called out for me and wanted me to help him, but I was powerless under the weight of the beasts tugging and pulling at me. Eric twitched and struggled to get out from his hoodie, but he got himself even more tangled in his panicked state. The creatures pulled me up to standing position, and even though Eric was right in front of me, I couldn't do anything to save him. He was soon powerlessly dragged over the edge into the pitch-black obscurity below. The merciless creatures continued to pull me backwards after Eric's downfall, and before long I found myself inside an opening in the mountain wall. Even though constricted, I still clung onto my gun and the newfound flashlight. The dark entities apparently had other plans for me, though I was too shocked to focus after the events that had just transpired. The foreboding creatures suddenly released their grip and without warning pushed me into a hole in the ground. The only thoughts swirling around in my head as I tumbled into the dark chasm were those of my family and the young man Eric. Lorraine and the others were probably worried sick about me by now. Had Eric survived? And why did I run away in the first place?